Lieutenant Maya Chen stood at the entrance of the Galactic Alliance Academy with her single duffel bag. The massive building towered above her, its crystalline spires reaching toward the 3 moons visible in the daytime sky. After 6 months of space travel, she had finally arrived at her destination, the most prestigious pilot training facility in the known universe. Maya took a deep breath of the slightly thinner air. Even with her pre-arrival adaptation treatments, Nexus Prime's atmosphere felt strange in her lungs. The gravity was approximately 1.2 times Earth's standard, manageable, but she would feel heavier here than at home. "You must be the human," a voice said from behind her. Maya turned to see a tall, blue-skinned figure with 4 arms folded across its chest. The Arxian wore the silver uniform of an academy instructor, the fabric shimmering as if made from liquid metal. "Lieutenant Maya Chen, Earth Space Force," she said, offering her hand in the human greeting custom. The Arxian looked at her hand with 4 yellow eyes and made no move to take it. "I am Commander Zexthor. I have been assigned to oversee your integration." The pause in his sentence made his reluctance clear. "Thank you, Commander. I'm looking forward to representing Earth in the exchange program." "Yes, well," Zexthor said, turning toward the entrance. "The Alliance Council insisted we include your species despite our concerns. Please follow me for processing." Maya grabbed her bag and followed the commander through doors that seemed to dissolve rather than open. Inside, the Academy atrium bustled with activity. Cadets of various species moved with purpose through the vast space. Maya noticed 3 main types: the blue, 4-armed Arxians like Zexthor, the tall, slender Voldari with their silver skin and elongated heads, and the stocky, green-scaled Zenthians who moved with incredible speed despite their heavy builds. What struck Maya most was how they all moved with a fluid grace that seemed almost supernatural. Their reflexes were visibly faster than any humans could be, the result of evolving on high-gravity worlds with dangerous predators. "Processing is this way," Zexthor said, not bothering to slow his pace for her heavier steps in the enhanced gravity. As they walked through the atrium, conversations stopped. Heads turned. Eyes, some with multiple pupils, others with nictitating membranes, focused on her. Maya kept her back straight and her face neutral, though she could hear the whispers. "Is that the human? So fragile-looking? I thought they'd be taller. Why would the Council waste a slot on such a primitive species?" At the processing center, a Voldari administrator looked up from her console with obvious surprise. "This is the human representative," Zexthor said. "Lieutenant Chen requires basic accommodations and—" He paused. "Perhaps access to the remedial simulation chambers." "I've completed the advanced training programs on Earth," Maya interjected. "I'm qualified for standard training." The Voldari and Zexthor exchanged glances. "Your species simulation technology is—" The Voldari searched for a diplomatic word. "Quaint. Our training systems operate at speeds that would overwhelm your nervous system." Maya bit back her frustration. "I understand your concerns, but I'd prefer to be treated like any other cadet." "Very well," Zexthor said with a flick of his upper arms. "Your funeral, as your species says." After processing, Maya was assigned a small room in the eastern wing, far from the other first-year cadets. The message was clear. She was an outsider, a curiosity, not a true member of the class. The room itself was comfortable enough, though designed for beings with different proportions. The bed was too long, the chair too wide, and the temperature, controls set for species with different metabolisms. Maya had just finished unpacking when her door chimed. Outside stood a Zenthian cadet, green scales gleaming under the hallway lights. "Orientation in the main hall in 15 minutes, he said without introduction. "Don't be late." His eyes scanned her from head to toe. "Though I suppose being slow is your natural state." He turned and walked away with that uncanny speed, leaving Maya alone in the doorway. 15 minutes later, Maya entered the main hall where over 200 cadets had gathered. She found a seat at the back, aware of the empty spaces that quickly formed around her. Commander Zexthor stepped onto the central platform. Welcome to the 127th class of the Galactic Alliance Academy. You represent the finest pilots from the 23 Alliance worlds. His eyes found Maya, and one observer from a provisional candidate species. Laughter rippled through the hall. Maya kept her expression neutral. Tomorrow your training begins. You will be pushed beyond your limits. Many of you will fail. This is by design. The Alliance needs only the best pilots to navigate the dangers of deep space. As the orientation continued, Maya listened carefully, making mental notes of the curriculum, the schedule, and the evaluation criteria. When it ended, Zexthor called the cadets forward one by one to receive their training assignments. Maya was last, Lieutenant Chen, Zexthor said as she approached the platform. You have been assigned to Basic Simulator Bay 12. He handed her a data chip. The simulators in this bay operate at reduced capacity, more suitable for your physiology. With respect, Commander, I request standard assignment, Maya said quietly. The hall had gone silent. All eyes were on the human and the commander. Request denied, Zexthor said. Your species has not evolved for the reaction speeds required. It would be dangerous and pointless. A tall Arxian cadet stepped forward. Commander, perhaps we should let the human try a standard simulator. It might be educational for all of us. His tone made it clear what kind of education he had in mind. Zexthor considered this, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence. Very well, Cadet Krell, take Lieutenant Chen to Standard Bay 3 after the assembly. Give her the full experience. More laughter filled the hall. Maya tightened her grip on the data chip but said nothing. The assembly dispersed, with most cadets heading toward the celebration hall where the welcoming feast would be held. Krell, the Arxian cadet, beckoned Maya with one of his lower arms. Come, human. Let's see what you're capable of. His voice dripped with mockery. Maya followed him out of the hall, away from the sounds of celebration and toward the simulator bays. She reminded herself why she was here, not just for herself, but for all of humanity. Earth needed this alliance, needed to prove they belonged among the stars. As they walked, Maya noticed a small display case in the corridor. Inside was a worn pilot's insignia with a nameplate. Commander Zexthor, Cardassian Run, unbeaten record, 50 standard years. Maya paused just long enough to read it before continuing after Krell. Perhaps she had found her target. The standard simulator pod looked like a metal egg mounted on hydraulic legs. Maya stood before it as Krell, the Arxian cadet, programmed the system with exaggerated gestures, making sure she noticed his 4 arms moving in perfect coordination. We'll start with something simple, he said, his yellow eyes gleaming with amusement. Just a basic asteroid navigation course. Even juvenile Arxians can complete it. Maya nodded, keeping her expression neutral despite the insult. She had spent the past 6 months studying every available piece of information about Alliance technology. The simulator interface would be different from Earth systems, but the principles would be the same. Begin whenever you're ready, Krell said with a dismissive wave of his upper right arm. The pod opened with a soft hiss. Maya climbed inside and settled into the pilot's seat. It was designed for beings with different proportions, leaving gaps at her sides and forcing her to stretch to reach some of the controls. The display screens activated automatically, filling the pod with a soft blue glow. Simulator active, the system announced in a neutral voice. Level 1 navigation training, beginning in 3, 2, 1. The interior of the pod disappeared, replaced by a startlingly realistic view of space. Maya was at the controls of a small scout vessel, heading toward a field of slowly rotating asteroids. The ship responded to her commands with a sensitivity that made Earth's best simulators feel clumsy in comparison. Maya took a moment to adjust to the controls, then guided the ship forward. She weaved between the first few asteroids carefully, getting a feel for the ship's handling. It was faster than she expected, more responsive. Outside the pod, Krell watched the external display with growing confusion. The human was not crashing into the first obstacles as he had expected. Instead, her movements were deliberate, cautious but effective. Inside, Maya began to pick up speed. The asteroid field grew denser, the gaps narrower, Earth's simulators had never been this detailed, this realistic. She could see the texture of each asteroid, could feel the subtle gravitational effects they exerted on her ship. Her heart rate increased, her palms sweated, but she maintained focus. Weave left, accelerate through the gap, roll right to avoid the collision. The movements became a dance, a rhythm she could follow. When she emerged from the asteroid field, the simulation ended. The pod opened to reveal Krell staring at her with all four eyes widened in surprise. "You completed the course," he said, his voice flat with disbelief. Maya climbed out of the pod, trying to hide how the exertion had affected her. Her muscles ached from the tension and the stronger gravity. "That was adequate," Krell finally said, recovering his composure, "for a level 1 simulation." By the next morning, word had spread through the academy. The human had completed a standard simulation. Most treated it as a curious anomaly, nothing more. Maya ignored the whispers and focused on her first official day of training. Commander Zexthor had, despite her performance, assigned her to Basic Simulator Bay 12 as originally planned. The basic simulators were slower, designed for species, with less developed reflexes or younger cadets still developing their skills. Maya used the time to study the systems in detail, learning the subtle differences between Alliance and Earth technology. While other cadets practiced combat maneuvers and advanced navigation, she was limited to fundamental exercises that barely tested her abilities. 3 weeks passed this way. Maya spent her days in the basic simulators and her nights studying Alliance flight theories in her room. She ate alone in the dining hall, the other cadets maintaining their distance as if her supposed inferiority might be contagious. Then came the first assessment day. All first-year cadets gathered in the main simulation chamber, a massive room with 20 advanced pods arranged in a circle. Commander Zexthor stood on a central platform, his forearms clasped behind his back. "Today's assessment is simple," he announced. "A navigation run through the Keltari asteroid belt. Your performance will determine your rankings and future training paths." The cadets were called forward in groups of 20. Maya was placed in the final group, alongside cadets who had shown the least promise during the first weeks. When her turn came, Maya entered Pod 17 with steady determination. The simulation began, and she found herself piloting a Scout, ship similar to the one from her first day, but with more advanced systems. The Keltari belt was far more challenging than the training scenarios. Asteroids moved in unpredictable patterns, some breaking apart as she approached them, creating new obstacles. Solar flares disrupted sensor readings, and gravitational anomalies pulled at her ship from multiple directions. Maya relied on instinct as much as training. Where the alien cadets used their superior reflexes, she used pattern recognition, anticipating movements rather than merely reacting to them. It was a different approach, but effective in its own way. When she emerged from the asteroid field, Maya knew she had performed well but had no idea how she compared to the others. She exited the pod to find an unusual silence in the chamber. On the main display screen, the rankings showed her name in the middle of the list, 14th out of 40. Commander Zexthor stared at the results with his inner eyelids half closed, a sign of deep thought among Arxians. Krell pushed through. The crowd, his blue skin darkened with anger. "This is impossible," he said loudly. "The human must have had the difficulty reduced." "The settings were standardized for all cadets," Commander Zexthor replied coolly. "Then it was luck," Krell insisted. "A statistical anomaly." Other cadets nodded in agreement. No one wanted to believe that a human could compete at their level. "If it was luck," Maya said, speaking up for the first time in weeks, "then it shouldn't happen twice." The room fell silent. Even Commander Zexthor seemed surprised by her challenge. Krell's upper arms twitched with irritation. "Fine. Let's see how your luck holds on a real challenge." He turned to the commander. "The Cardassian run. That will settle this matter." Murmurs spread through the chamber. The Cardassian run was notorious, a complex simulation that combined asteroid navigation with combat scenarios and emergency procedures. It was typically reserved for third-year cadets. No first year had ever completed, It successfully, the human would not survive the Cardassian run, Commander Zexthor said dismissively. Their nervous system lacks the processing speed necessary for such complex maneuvers. I accept the challenge, Maya said before she could stop herself. All's eyes turned to her. Some cadets laughed outright. Others looked at her with something approaching concern. You don't know what you're saying, said a Voldari cadet named Selena, one of the few who had treated Maya with basic courtesy. The Cardassian run is beyond even most second years. Then I'll fail, Maya said with a shrug. But I'd rather fail, trying than succeed at tasks designed for children. Commander Zexthor's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of annoyance. Very well. In 1 standard week, Lieutenant Chen will attempt the Cardassian run. He fixed his gaze on Maya. I hope your species has adequate medical evacuation protocols for when this foolishness inevitably results in neural shock. As the UID crowd dispersed, Maya noticed Krell stopping by the display case she had seen on her first day, the one containing Commander Zexthor's record insignia. Krell ran one finger along the glass almost reverently. You've challenged more than you know, human, he said when he noticed her watching. Commander Zexthor has held the record on the Cardassian run for 50 years. No one has even come close. His 4 eyes narrowed. And certainly no human ever will. Maya said nothing, but as she walked back to her quarters, her mind was already racing, formulating a plan. If the aliens thought humans relied solely on reflexes like they did, they had much to learn about human ingenuity. The news spread through the academy like a solar flare. The human was going to attempt the Cardassian run. Some cadets laughed at her foolishness, others placed bets on how quickly she would fail, and a small few worried about her safety. No one, not a single being in the entire academy, believed she could succeed. Maya knew the odds. She had exactly 1 week to prepare for a challenge that third-year cadets spent months training for. If she followed the standard training methods, she would fail spectacularly. She needed a different approach. The morning after accepting the challenge, Maya skipped her assigned basic training and instead went to the academy's library. The vast room was nearly empty. Most cadets preferred direct neural downloads of information rather than the primitive method of reading. This worked to Maya's advantage as she searched the database for information about the Cardassian run. Accessing restricted simulation data requires third-year clearance, the system informed her when she tried to view the specifics of the challenge. Maya frowned. Without knowing exactly what she would face, preparation would be difficult. She needed another approach. System, display all publicly available records of completed Cardassian run attempts, she requested instead. The display lit up with a long list of names, times, and dates. At the very top, Commander Zexthor, with a time that was nearly 20% faster than the second-place record holder. The date confirmed what Krell had said. The record had stood for 50 years. Maya studied the list, looking for patterns. Most successful runs were completed by Arxians, whose forearms gave them an advantage on complex control interfaces. Voldari pilots had the next best times, followed by Xenthians. There were no humans on the list at all. System, display biographical. Data for Commander Zexthor, Maya said. The screen filled with information about the commander's illustrious career. Before becoming an instructor, he had been the Alliance's most decorated scout pilot, known for his ability to navigate dangerous territories. The Cardassian run record was set early in his career and had cemented his legendary status. As Maya read, a new presence entered the library. She looked up to see a Voldari cadet, Selena, the one who had warned her about the challenge. You're wasting your time, Selena said, her silver skin reflecting the library's soft lighting. You can't out-reflex an Arxian. It's simple biology. I don't plan to, Maya replied, continuing to scroll through the data. Selena tilted her elongated head, curiosity overcoming her skepticism. Then what's your strategy? I need to understand the simulation at a deeper level, not just how to fly it, but how it works. Maya pointed to the screen. Look at the pattern in the record times. There's a 10-year gap where no one completed the run at all, then suddenly multiple successful attempts. Something changed in the simulation. Selena moved closer, her tall, slender form towering over Maya. There was a system upgrade. The older neural interfaces were causing blackouts in some species. She paused. How does this help you? I'm not sure yet, Maya admitted. But if I can understand how the simulation is programmed, I might find an edge that doesn't rely on superior reflexes. Selena's silvery lips curved into what might have been a smile. You'd need access to the engineering bay for that. No first-year cadet is allowed there. Then I'll have to find another way in, Maya said. For the next 3 days, Maya divided her time. During regular hours, she trained in the basic simulators, focusing not on the scenarios themselves, but on understanding how the Alliance control systems translated pilot inputs into ship movements. At night, she studied everything she could find about the physiology of the 3 main Alliance species, learning how their nervous systems processed information differently from humans. On the 4th night, she put her plan into action. The engineering bay was located in the Academy's lower levels. Access was restricted to senior staff and maintenance crews. Maya had observed the patterns of the security systems and knew there was a brief window during shift changes when the bay was momentarily unguarded. She slipped through the corridors, heart pounding, but steps sure. When she reached the engineering bay doors, she hesitated only briefly before entering her access code. It wouldn't work, of course, but that wasn't her plan. Invalid access. Please try again, the system announced, loud enough that anyone nearby would hear. Maya waited, counting silently. 3, 2, 1. The door slid open. A short, green-scaled Zenthian in a maintenance uniform stood there, blinking rapidly. What are you doing here, cadet? He asked, his words coming at the rapid-fire pace typical of his species. Lieutenant Chen, Maya corrected gently. I was hoping to speak with someone from engineering about the simulator interfaces. For research purposes. The Zenthian's eyes narrowed. No appointments at this hour. Come back tomorrow. He began to close the door, but Maya spoke quickly. It's about the Cardassian run. I'm scheduled to attempt it in 3 days. The door stopped. The Zenthian looked at her with new interest. You're the human. It wasn't a question. I heard about the challenge. The whole station's talking about it. Then you know I need all the help I can get, Maya said. After a moment's consideration, the Zenthian stepped aside. 5 minutes, that's all. I'm Raltik, Chief Systems Technician. The engineering bay was a massive room filled with simulator, components in various states of assembly. Holographic displays showed system diagnostics, power levels, and maintenance schedules. What exactly are you looking for? Raltik asked, leading her toward a workstation. I need to understand how the simulators process pilot inputs, Maya explained. Specifically, the relationship between reaction time and successful navigation. Raltik's scaled eyebrows rose. You're taking an interesting approach. He activated a display showing a complex diagram of neural interfaces and response algorithms. The simulators are designed to reward quick reactions. The faster you respond to a threat, the better your score. But is reaction time the only factor? Maya asked, studying the diagram. Raltik hesitated, then adjusted the display. Not entirely. There's also prediction. The simulation runs on algorithms that determine the most efficient path through obstacles. In theory, if you could perfectly predict the optimal path, you wouldn't need lightning reflexes to navigate it. Maya's heart beat faster. This was what she had been looking for. Can you show me those algorithms? Raltik glanced around nervously, then lowered his voice. That would be against regulations, but he tapped a few commands and a new set of data appeared. This is a basic outline of how the Cardassian run is structured. Not the specific obstacles, those are randomly generated, but the underlying patterns. Maya studied the information carefully, committing as much as possible to memory. The patterns were complex, but not random. There were rules to how the obstacles appeared and moved, rules that could be learned and anticipated. Why are You helping me? She asked as Galactic transferred some of the data to her personal device. The Zenthian shrugged, the motion rippling across his scaled shoulders. 20 years maintaining these systems, watching the same species succeed in the same ways. It gets boring. His lips pulled back in what might have been a smile. Besides, no one's really challenged the commander's record in decades. Might be interesting to see someone try. Maya's 5 minutes turned into 30 as Galactic showed her more about the simulator systems. By the time she left the engineering bay, she had a new understanding of the challenge ahead and a new ally. For the next 2 days, Maya created her own training program. While other cadets practiced in the official simulators, she developed mental exercises to improve her pattern recognition and prediction skills. She studied recordings of successful Cardassian run attempts, looking not at the pilots, but at how the obstacles moved and interacted. The night before the challenge, as Maya sat in her quarters reviewing her notes one final time, her door chimed. Outside stood Selena, the Voldari cadet. "The betting pool has you failing within the first 30 seconds, she said without preamble. "Good to know," Maya replied, trying to hide her nervousness. Selena hesitated, then handed Maya a small device. Neural enhancer. Mild stimulus to your visual cortex. It won't give you Archean reflexes, but it might help you process what you see a little faster. Maya took the device, surprised by the gesture. "Thank you, but why help me?" Selena's silver face remained unreadable. Let's just say not everyone enjoys watching the commander's smug satisfaction at his unbroken record. She turned to leave, then added, "Oh, and you should know, Krell tampered with your assigned simulator. Nothing dangerous, just altered the control sensitivity to throw you off." As the door closed behind Selena, Maya added this new information to her plans. Sabotage had always been a possibility. Now she would be prepared for it. Tomorrow, she would face the Cardassian run, not as the aliens expected her to, but in her own uniquely human way. The day of the Cardassian run arrived with a buzz of excitement throughout the academy. Classes were suspended, and a crowd gathered in the main simulation chamber. The circular room had been reconfigured with a single advanced simulator pod at its center and tiered seating surrounding it. On a special platform sat Commander Zexthor, his forearms folded across his chest, his expression unreadable. Maya entered the chamber to a mixture of whispers and snickers. She wore the standard Earth Space Force uniform rather than academy training gear, a reminder to everyone, including herself, of who and what she represented. "Quite the audience," Selena said, approaching from behind. The silver-skinned Voldari looked around at the packed room. "I don't think a first-year attempt has ever drawn this much attention." "They came to watch me fail," Maya said quietly. "Most did," Selena admitted. "But not all." Across the chamber, Maya spotted Galactic, the Zenthian engineer, adjusting some controls on a side panel. He gave her a barely perceptible nod. Krell pushed through the crowd, his blue skin darkened with excitement. "Ready to embarrass your species, human?" he asked loudly enough for those nearby to hear. Maya didn't answer. She was focused on the simulator pod, mentally reviewing everything she had learned and practiced over the past week. Commander Zexthor rose from his seat. The chamber fell silent. "Lieutenant Maya Chen will now attempt the Cardassian run," he announced formally. "As per Academy regulations, the simulation will terminate if the pilot's vital signs indicate severe distress or if the simulated vessel sustains critical damage." He paused, looking directly at Maya. "The current record stands at 7 minutes and 23 seconds, set by myself 50 standard years ago." This was met with appreciative murmurs. No one had come within 30 seconds of that time in 5 decades. "You may begin when ready," the commander concluded, retaking his seat. Maya approached the simulator pod. As the door slid open, she glanced back at the crowd. Hundreds of eyes watched her, some curious, most skeptical, a few openly hostile. She took a deep breath and entered the pod. The interior was more advanced than any she had trained in. Multiple control interfaces surrounded the pilot's seat, and the display screens offered a 360-degree view of virtual space. As the door sealed shut, Maya ran her hands over the controls, immediately noticing the subtle differences Selena had warned her about. The sensitivity had indeed been altered. Cardassian run simulation initiating in 10 seconds, the system announced. Maya closed her eyes briefly, centering herself. When she opened them, she was ready. 3, 2, 1. Begin. The pod interior vanished, replaced by the cockpit of a scout ship hurtling through space. Ahead lay the infamous Cardassian run, a treacherous course through an unstable nebula, packed with asteroids, radiation pockets, and debris from ancient space battles. Maya's hands moved to the controls. Adjusting for the altered sensitivity, the ship responded sluggishly at first, veering dangerously close to a cluster of asteroids. Outside the pod, the audience tensed, expecting an immediate crash. But Maya had anticipated this. Instead of fighting the sluggish controls, she used the momentum to slingshot around the asteroid cluster, saving precious seconds. This wasn't the standard approach. It was something she had developed based on her understanding of the simulation's physics. In the observation area, Krell leaned forward, his yellow eyes narrowed in confusion. "What is she doing?" he demanded of no one in particular. Commander Zexthor watched silently, his inner eyelids half-closed in concentration. Inside the simulation, Maya navigated through the first section of the run with growing confidence. The sabotaged controls were a challenge, but not an insurmountable one. She adapted quickly, developing a feel for how the ship responded. Then came the first real test, a massive debris field with pieces spinning in seemingly random patterns. This was where most cadets failed, unable to process the chaotic movements fast enough to find a safe path. Maya slowed the ship, earning mutters from the audience. Slowing down cost valuable time, but she wasn't trying to react to each piece of debris individually. She was looking for the pattern underneath the chaos. "She's going to crash," someone said loudly as a large chunk of metal spun toward her ship. At the last possible moment, Maya accelerated and banked hard to port. The debris missed her by centimeters. She continued through the field, not by randomly dodging obstacles, but by following a path she had calculated based on the rotation patterns. "Impossible," Krell whispered as Maya emerged from the debris field intact. The next challenge was the radiation storm, swirling pockets of deadly energy that could instantly overload a ship's systems. The standard approach was to navigate around, the storm taking a longer but safer route. Maya flew straight into it. Gasps echoed through the chamber. On his platform, Commander Zexthor stood up, all 4 eyes wide with surprise. Inside the simulator, Maya's screens flashed with warnings as radiation levels climbed. But she had studied the patterns of the storm, recognized that at its heart was a narrow corridor of calm, if you could find it and stay within its boundaries. Her ship weaved through the swirling energy, occasionally dipping into dangerous radiation levels before finding the safe zone again. It was like threading a needle while riding a hurricane, requiring intense concentration and split-second adjustments. When she emerged from the other side of the storm, having cut nearly a minute off the standard route, the audience fell into shocked silence. The final section of the run was a massive asteroid field with a gravity well at its center, the most technically demanding part of the simulation. Maya's hands flew across the controls, guiding the ship through gaps that seemed too narrow to navigate. Her movements weren't as blindingly fast as an Arxian's would be, but they were precise, deliberate, and, most importantly, anticipatory, rather than reactive. As she neared the end of the course, Maya checked her time. 6 minutes and 50 seconds. She was on pace to break the record. Then, disaster struck. A power fluctuation rippled through the simulator, not part of the program, but an actual malfunction in the pod itself. The controls froze for a critical second, sending the ship spinning toward a massive asteroid. Maya fought to regain control, but the damage was done. The ship clipped the asteroid, sending it tumbling end over end. Warning lights flashed as simulated. Systems failed. With less than 100 meters to the finish line, her ship was crippled. In the observation area, there were cheers from some cadets who had bet against her, Krell's face split into a wide, satisfied grin. But Maya wasn't finished. With the main engines offline, she switched to emergency thrusters, tiny jets designed for docking maneuvers, not propulsion. Firing them in precise sequences, she managed to stabilize the ship's spin. "What is she doing now?" Selena asked, leaning forward. "Something I've never seen before," Reltic replied, his voice filled with professional curiosity. Using the emergency thrusters and the asteroid's own gravity, Maya created a slingshot effect. The ship wobbled dangerously but moved forward, limping toward the finish line. She crossed at 7 minutes and 12 seconds, 11 seconds faster than the standing record. The simulator powered down, returning Maya to the pod's interior. Her hands shook with adrenaline and effort. Sweat soaked her uniform. But she had done it, or had she? When the pod door opened, the chamber was completely silent. Maya stepped out on unsteady legs to face the stunned crowd. Commander Zexthor approached, his expression unreadable. "There was a malfunction in the simulator," he said. "The results are invalid." Behind him, Krell's face showed naked relief. "System. Error log, please," Reltic called out, stepping forward. As chief systems technician, he had authority here. "Reviewing. Power fluctuation at 6 minutes, 52 seconds. Origin." His scaled face darkened. "External. Someone interfered with the pod during the simulation." All eyes turned to Krell, whose upper arms twitched nervously. "The time stands," Reltic declared. 7 minutes, 12 seconds. The chamber erupted, in a mixture of protests and cheers. Maya stood in the center of it all, too exhausted to fully process what had happened. Commander Zexthor raised all 4 arms for silence. When the noise subsided, he spoke in a voice that carried to every corner of the room. "The record," he said slowly, "remains unbroken." Maya's heart sank. "Academy Regulation 5.7, the commander continued. "Any externally caused malfunction invalidates the attempt." He fixed his gaze on Krell. "Lieutenant Chen will be permitted a second attempt once the simulator has been thoroughly inspected and secured against interference." It wasn't a victory, but it wasn't defeat either. Maya had proven what she came to prove. Humans could compete at the highest levels, just in their own way. As the crowd dispersed, arguments breaking out among various factions, Commander Zexthor approached Maya privately. "That was unexpected," he said, studying her with new interest. "You flew differently than any cadet I've seen in 50 years of teaching." "Humans don't have Archean reflexes," Maya replied, still catching her breath. "We have to find other advantages." The commander's inner eyelids blinked slowly. "Indeed. Perhaps there is more to your species than we assumed." He turned to leave, then added, "Your second attempt will be scheduled for graduation day, 3 months from now. I suggest you use the time wisely." As he walked away, Maya realized she had achieved something even 3 months was both a long time and not nearly enough. After Maya's surprising performance on the Cardassian run, attitudes toward her at the academy had shifted. Some cadets, impressed by her unconventional approach, began studying her methods. Others, led by Krell, grew even more hostile, viewing her as a threat to their established order. Commander Zexthor had moved Maya from the basic simulators to standard training with other first-year cadets. It wasn't special treatment. She had earned her place. But her real training happened after hours, when she worked with Reltic to better understand the simulator systems and with Selena to improve her navigation techniques. 2 weeks before graduation day, and her second attempt at the Cardassian run, Maya sat in the Academy library reviewing footage of successful runs by previous pilots. She had watched Commander Zexthor's record-setting flight dozens of times, studying every move, every decision. Something still bothered her about it. There was a section of the run, near the end, where the commander's ship disappeared from sensors for 12 seconds. When it reappeared, it had gained significant time over the standard route. "You've been staring at the same footage for hours," Selena said, sliding into the seat across from Maya. Since the first attempt, the Voldari cadet had become something close to a friend, or at least an ally. There's something wrong with this. Recording, Maya said, pointing to the screen. Look at this section. The tracking data skips. Selena's silver eyes narrowed as she watched. Sensor interference from the radiation pockets, perhaps? For exactly 12 seconds, and only on the commander's run? Maya shook her head. No other pilot has that gap in their data. What are you suggesting? Selena asked, her voice dropping to a whisper. Maya wasn't sure herself. I need to see the original course design, the complete map of the Cardassian run. Those files are restricted, Selena reminded her. Then I'll have to find another way to access them. That night, Maya met with Galactic in his small office in the engineering bay. The Zenthian had become an unexpected mentor, fascinated by her human perspective on the Academy's technology. You want the original Cardassian run design files? He repeated, after she explained her request. Those are sealed in the central archive. Even I don't have access. But you know who does, Maya pressed. Galactic's scales shifted, and what she had learned was a sign of discomfort. The commander, certainly, and possibly the Academy director. He tapped his clawed fingers on the desk. Why is this so important? Maya explained her suspicions about the missing 12 seconds in the record run. Galactic listened carefully, then pulled up the footage on his own screen. Interesting, he murmured, frame by frame analyzing the section where the ship disappeared. The trajectory before disappearance and after reappearance don't quite align, as if the ship changed course while out of sensor range. Is that possible? Maya asked. Only if... Galactic's eyes widened. Computer, display full map of the Cardassian run, original design. Access denied, the system responded. Senior authorization required. The Zenthian's scales flushed a deeper green. This is highly irregular, but... He entered a complex sequence of commands. Engineering Override System Maintenance Protocol 17. The screen flickered, then displayed a three-dimensional map of the Cardassian run. Maya leaned forward, studying it intensely. There, she said, pointing to a dense asteroid cluster near the end of the course. The standard route goes around this cluster, but if someone were to fly through it, that would be suicide, Galactic said. The gaps are too narrow, and the radiation levels inside the cluster would overload standard shields. But if they succeeded, how much time would it save? Galactic performed a quick calculation. Approximately 12 to 15 seconds. Maya sat back, a smile spreading across her face. He found a shortcut. That's how the commander set the unbeatable record. He flew through the asteroid cluster while the sensors were disrupted by radiation. But that's... Galactic searched for the right word. That's not explicitly against the rules, but it's certainly not the intended route. The rules state pilots must start at point A and finish at point B, Maya said, remembering the regulation text she had studied. They don't specify the exact path between. For the next week, Maya trained with new purpose. If Commander Zexthor had used an unconventional route to set his record, so could she. But flying through the asteroid cluster would require more than just good reflexes or pattern recognition. It would take courage and perfect execution. 3 days before graduation, Maya decided to confront Commander Zexthor directly. She found him in his office reviewing student evaluations. Lieutenant Chen, he said, looking up as she entered. Your final attempt is approaching. Are you prepared? I believe so, Commander, Maya replied. I've been studying previous successful runs, including yours. Something flickered in his 4 eyes. Caution, perhaps. A sound strategy. I noticed something interesting, Maya continued. During your record-setting run, there's a 12-second gap in the sensor data, right around the Krellin asteroid cluster. The commander's upper arm stiffened almost imperceptibly. Sensor malfunctions are common in that section due to radiation interference. Of course, Maya nodded. But what's curious is that your ship's trajectory changed during those 12 seconds, almost as if you took a different route than the standard path. Silence filled the office. Commander Zexthor studied her with all 4 eyes, his expression unreadable. Are you accusing me of something, Lieutenant? He asked finally, his voice dangerously quiet. Not at all, Commander. Maya said calmly. I'm admiring your ingenuity. You found a path no one else had considered, through the asteroid cluster instead of around it. It wasn't against the rules, just unexpected. Brilliant, actually. Another long moment of silence passed. Then, to Maya's surprise, the commander's mouth curved into what might have been a smile. 50 years, he said softly. 50 years, and you're the first to figure it out. He leaned forward across his desk. Do you know why no one else has broken my record, Lieutenant Chen? Not because they lack the skill, but because they lack the imagination. They all fly the same route because that's what they're taught to do. While you saw another way, Maya finished. Precisely. The commander rose from his seat and walked to the window overlooking the academy grounds. When I was a young pilot, fresh from my homeworld, I was much like you, an outsider trying to prove myself. I studied the simulation design rather than just practicing the standard approach. And you found the shortcut through the asteroid cluster, Maya said. A theoretical shortcut, he corrected. Everyone said it was impossible. The gap's too narrow, the radiation too intense, but I calculated that with perfect execution it could be done. His upper arms moved in a gesture Maya had learned indicated pride. And I was right. Why keep it a secret all these years? The commander turned back to face her. I didn't. The flight data is there for anyone who cares to look closely enough. But no one did. Until you. He studied her with new interest. You remind me of myself, Lieutenant. Different physiology, different background, but the same approach to problem solving. Maya felt a strange mixture of validation and nervousness. She had discovered the commander's secret, but what would he do now? Your second attempt is in 3 days, Commander Zexthor said. I look forward to seeing what path you choose. As Maya turned to leave, the commander added, Lieutenant Chen, whatever happens, you've already accomplished something remarkable. You've changed how many here think about humans, and perhaps how they think about piloting as well. Maya returned to her quarters with her mind racing. She now knew how the commander had set his seemingly unbeatable record. The question was, could she do the same? And even if she could, should she? Flying through the asteroid cluster would be incredibly dangerous, even in a simulation. If she failed, it would reinforce every negative stereotype about human capabilities. But if she succeeded? Maya smiled to herself as she began to prepare for her final challenge. Commander Zexthor had shown her that sometimes breaking records required breaking expectations. Now it was her turn to do both. Everyone laughed at the human. Then he broke their record part. The record graduation day at the Galactic Alliance Academy was always a grand affair. Representatives from all Alliance species gathered to witness the completion of another class of elite pilots. This year, however, there was an additional draw, the human's second attempt at the Cardassian run. The main simulation chamber had been expanded to accommodate the larger audience. In addition to Academy staff and cadets, diplomatic representatives filled the special observation area. Among them sat Earth's first ambassador to the Alliance, a tall woman whose proud smile made it clear she understood what today meant for human-alien relations. Maya stood in the preparation room, performing final equipment checks. She had barely slept the night before, her mind cycling through calculations and visualizations of the route she planned to take. The door slid open and Selena entered, followed by Raltic. Half the Alliance is out there, the Voldari said. No, pressure. Maya smiled despite her nervousness. Thanks for the reminder. Your simulator is clean, Raltic reported. I checked it myself 3 times. No opportunities for external interference this time. Krell? Maya asked. Confined to quarters for today's ceremony, Selena said with satisfaction. The commander may have avoided making his tampering public, but he ensured there would be consequences. Maya nodded, grateful for small mercies. The last thing she needed was another sabotage attempt. Have you decided? Raltic asked quietly. About the shortcut? Maya had spent days analyzing the risk. Flying through the asteroid cluster would be a gamble, potentially cutting crucial seconds off her time but with a high probability of failure. I've made my decision. she said simply. The preparation room door opened again. Commander Zexthor stood there, his formal uniform adorned with medals from his illustrious career. "It's time, Lieutenant," he said. Selena and Raltik wished her luck before departing. For a moment, Maya was alone with the commander. "The human ambassador requested to speak with you before the attempt," Zexthor said. "I informed her it was against protocol to disturb a pilot's concentration." "Thank you," Maya said, genuinely relieved. The commander studied her with all four eyes. "Have you chosen your path, Lieutenant Chen?" "I have, sir." "Then may your journey be true." He gestured toward the chamber entrance. "After you." Maya walked into the simulation chamber to complete silence. Hundreds of eyes, many with extra pupils, some with protective membranes, all foreign, followed her progress to the central simulator pod. The silence continued as she performed her final systems check, then climbed inside. As the pod sealed, around her Maya took a deep breath, centering herself. The display screens activated, showing the familiar startup sequence for the Cardassian run. "Simulation beginning in 10 seconds, the system announced. Maya placed her hands on the controls, feeling their responsive touch. "No sabotage this time. 3, 2, 1, begin." The interior of the pod transformed into the cockpit of a scout ship. Ahead lay the Cardassian run, looking more familiar now after countless hours of study. Maya guided her ship into the first section with confidence, navigating the initial asteroid field with smooth, controlled movements. She had practiced this section until it became second nature, allowing her to conserve mental energy for the challenges ahead. In the observation area, the audience watched her progress on the large display screens. Her movements weren't as blindingly fast as an Arxian's, but there was an elegance to her flying that even the most skeptical observers had to respect. "She's taking the standard route," someone commented as Maya navigated through the debris field. "Playing it safe." Commander Zexthor made no comment, but his inner eyelids blinked thoughtfully. When Maya reached the radiation storm, the section where she had shocked everyone in her first attempt by flying directly through it, she again chose a bold approach. Rather than following the standard safe route around the storm, she plotted a course straight through its center, finding the narrow corridor of calm space that other pilots missed. This gained her nearly 40 seconds over the standard time, putting her ahead of schedule to beat her previous attempt. "Impressive," the Earth ambassador murmured to a Voldari diplomat beside her. She studied the patterns rather than relying on reflexes alone. "A uniquely human approach," the Voldari agreed reluctantly. Then came the true test, the final section, with the Krellin asteroid cluster. This was where the commander had used his secret shortcut 50 years ago. This was where Maya would either follow convention or make history. As her ship approached the cluster, Maya felt a moment of doubt. The standard route around the cluster was safe, guaranteed. The shortcut through it was dangerous, potentially disastrous. She remembered the commander's words. They all fly the same route because that's what they're taught to do. Maya made her decision. To the shock of the audience, she turned her ship directly toward the dense asteroid cluster. "What is she doing?" gasped a Zenthian instructor. "That's suicide." In the front row, Commander Zexthor leaned forward, his four eyes unblinking. Inside the simulation, Maya's cockpit lit up with warning signals as the ship entered the cluster. Radiation levels spiked, shields began to strain, and asteroids crowded her view on all sides. The gaps between them were barely wider than her ship, leaving almost no room for error. This was the moment where pure reflexes would fail. No human could react quickly enough to navigate this maze at full speed. But Maya wasn't relying on reflexes alone. She had studied the cluster's pattern, understood its rhythm. Where others saw chaos, she recognized order. Each asteroid's movement influenced those around it, creating a complex but predictable dance. Maya guided her ship through the narrowest of gaps, sometimes with only centimeters to spare. She didn't try to react to each asteroid individually, but instead followed the flow through the cluster, like a leaf carried by a stream. In the observation chamber, even the most experienced pilots held their breath. No one, not even Commander Zexthor himself had attempted this shortcut since his record-setting run 50 years ago. For 12 heart-stopping seconds, Maya's ship disappeared from sensors, lost in the radiation interference from the cluster. The audience sat in stunned silence, many assuming she had crashed. Then, suddenly, her ship emerged from the other side of the cluster, shields strained but intact. The chamber erupted in gasps and exclamations. Maya didn't celebrate yet. She still had the final stretch to navigate. With unwavering focus, she guided her ship toward the finish line, pushing the engines to their limit. She crossed the line, and the simulation ended. Her final time appeared on the main display, 7 minutes and 11 seconds, 1 second faster than her previous attempt, and 12 seconds faster than the commander's 50-year record. The pod opened, and Maya stepped out on shaky legs, adrenaline still coursing through her system. The chamber was completely silent as Commander Zexthor approached. "The sensors show no malfunctions or external interference," he announced formally. "The time is valid." He turned to Maya. "Lieutenant Maya Chen has completed the Cardassian run in 7 minutes and 11 seconds, setting a new Academy record." For a heartbeat, the silence continued. Then the Earth ambassador began to applaud. Selena and Raltic quickly joined in. Gradually, the applause spread through the chamber until even some of the most skeptical aliens were acknowledging her achievement. "Commander." Zexthor raised his hands for quiet. When the chamber settled, he turned to Maya once more. "In 50 years, no one discovered what you found in 3 months," he said, his voice carrying to every corner of the room. "Your approach to the Cardassian run demonstrates that there are many paths to excellence, not all of them obvious." He glanced around at the gathered cadets. "A lesson many here would do well to remember." The commander extended one of his 4 hands to Maya. "Congratulations, Lieutenant Chen. You have done your species proud." As Maya shook his hand, she saw genuine respect in all 4 of his eyes. In the days that followed, Maya's achievement became the talk of the Academy. Several cadets, even some Arxians, approached her to learn about her methods. The human approach to piloting, once dismissed as inferior, was now being studied as an alternative technique. 1 month after graduation, Commander Zexthor personally removed his record plaque from the display case in the main corridor. In its place, he installed a new one, Lieutenant Maya Chen, Cardassian Run, 711, current record, and below it, a quote that would inspire generations of pilots from all species. "There are many paths through the stars. The best one is the one you discover yourself."